This journeys that people walk. You walk a base 10 journey. You have a base 10 brain with a base 10 truth. 4 plus 4 is 8. When that base 10 brain hears that 4 plus 4 is 13, a part of it, the ancient part of it goes, that's wrong. What you want to work at in practice is this. I was told that 4 plus 4 is 8. It's right in my world. Now it should just be the 4 plus 4 is 13. Tell me more. I'm curious. That is the growth-minded person. Those are the type of people we need in a world with differences. Those are the type of people we need to build a culture of continuous learning and of caring. I need to spend 2 more minutes there. Is that okay? Okay. I'm going to ask the crowd. Okay. I want to tell you the story of why I do this work. So it gives you a kind of a capstone on this talk. I was born in Vietnam, came to the United States in 1970 when I was 5 years old. In that year, my mom married an American serviceman there, not necessarily because she loved him, but also to take us out of the war-torn country. Okay, I'm leaving some details out. Okay, but to make that decision to marry this guy to take us to the U.S., she makes the decision to leave our whole family behind. That pains my mom a great deal. To offset some of that pain, she tries to teach me some things that she had learned about the United States as she was growing up. Great things she tried to teach me, like the United States was one of very few places across the globe where you could come with nothing except for the shirt on your back, but end up with something if you worked hard enough. She left out the part about it's good to know people too, right? Because would you agree, insiders have more access to opportunity than outsiders? Yeah, okay. So, we finally land to LA. We deboard the plane, get processed as immigrants in this building. We leave the building, walk into a corridor. As we step into the corridor, some of those people in the corridor begin throwing things at me and my mom. And these were not good things. Some of them spat on us as we walked by. Some of them yelled horrible words at us as we passed by. I didn't understand English at the time, but I knew these were not good words by the way people were yelling them. I remember my mom putting her arms around me. All 4'11", 95 pounds of this young Vietnamese woman trying to protect her only son from the things that people were throwing at us. As we walked along the corridor, sometimes the pelting would become harder and harder. My mom would instinctively squeeze tighter and tighter. Sometimes she would squeeze so tightly they would hurt. On those occasions, I'd look up, I'd want to say something to my mom, but I never did. Because every time I looked up, all I saw was tears streaming down my mom's face. And even as a little 5-year-old, I knew I should be silent at the time. We weren't treated very well by some. They saw us as outsiders. They saw us as immigrants invading their land. They forgetting that we are land of immigrants here. I grew up in some tough neighborhoods around LA. I can actually wear the t-shirt straight out of Compton. I grew up in Compton, Long Beach, Bellflower areas. Not fun places to grow up, but my neighborhood was not the worst of my situation. The worst of my situation was my stepfather. I don't have the time to go into the details, but he was a bad guy. He was such a bad guy that in June of 1984, my stepfather was convicted of raping my little sister. 1 year later, in June of 1985, my sister runs away from home with a friend of hers. 1 month after my sister runs away, my mom gets a phone call from a detective at the King County Sheriff's Department, Seattle, Washington. And in so many words, the detective says to my mom, he says, Mrs. Robbins, we found the other girl that your daughter ran away with, but that other girl had been sexually assaulted and bludgeoned to death. And as soon as he says that, my mom frantically asks, what about my daughter? What about Diane? What about her? And all the detective said was, we don't know. There's no trace of your daughter. We don't know. There's no evidence of your daughter. We don't know. All I can say over and over to my mom's questions is, we don't know. That was 1985. It's 2022 now. We still don't know. How many of you have heard of a guy by the name of Gary Ridgway? You would know him also as the Green River Killer. 48 confirmed deaths of young women, many more unconfirmed. My sister's believed to be one of his many victims, if not a victim of a copycat killer. My mom goes into depression, not many happy days in her life after that phone call. But there came a time she was happy. 6 years later, June of 1991, that's when I get married to my wife, Donna, out in Michigan. For a week, it's the happiest I've seen my mom since that phone call during that wedding celebration. But the wedding celebration ends, she flies back into Washington. who was living at the time. Goes back to the Depression. Just a few months later, in September 91, I began graduate school at Michigan State. My mom and I are separated about 1,500 plus miles. We talk on the phone every week. On this particular phone call in October 91, we're talking and we're sharing. As we're about to close, my mom says to me, she says, Lau, my Vietnamese name, Lau, you have Donna to take care of you now, she says. And we hang up. A week later, I get a call, early November 91, from Washington State. I expected to be my mom, but it turns out to be a detective from the Benton County Sheriff's Department, Pasco, Washington. And in so many words, the detective says to me, he says, Mr. Robbins, we have some unfortunate news. We just found your mom, and she was hanging in her shower. A week after my mom says to me, you have Donna to take care of you now, my mom takes her own life. I'm shortening the story, but let me end with this. If there was anything that was good that became my mom's suicide, it could be this, the timing of it. It happened the first semester of graduate school for me. It's that one single incident alone that led me to study what I studied in graduate school. Just a bit of what we learned today. It's that one single incident alone that leads me to do the work I do today. I do this work that I call inclusion and diversity to honor my mom and my little sister and try to create a better world for my 4 kids and their friends. And I want to help you do the work too by just thinking about it as caring. Let's care for people. Do you see caring behaviors? Do you see patterns of caring behaviors in your organization? That's what a culture is. It's just patterns of behavior, right? And when you work, if you don't see it there, when you work to get people to practice that, because it's not about the numbers of people in certain categories, it's about this. Can you do something to prevent a phone call that goes, we just found your mom, or your dad, or your sister, or your brother? That's what this work is about. Okay. Amen? Stand up, everyone. We leave with a reminder to be open-minded, and to remind us, we're going to say the preamble of my favorite television series of all time that talks about open-mindedness, Star Trek. Okay? We're going to repeat the words after me. As we repeat the words, make the Vulcan peace sign. Everybody do this? Again, if someone next to you is not doing it, take your peace sign and slap them upside the head for me. Okay? Here we go. Repeat after me. Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship HR Enterprise. Our ongoing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before. Thank you for your time, everyone.